Good evening. I'm Brady Alderson, and the Sports Ticker is brought to you by the experienced advisors at Stonebridge Well Systems. Earlier today, the Sporting News named Rinked Mass as the third-team midseason All-American. Mass has been instrumental in the Huskers' 17-0 start to the season. They are now just one of 4 teams in college basketball without a blemish on their record. Rinked Mass and the unbeaten Huskers will put their perfect record on the line on Saturday as they make the trip to Northwestern for a 3 p.m. tip-off. Also announced today, Ndamukong Suh will be one of 22 individuals named to the 2026 College Football Hall of Fame class. Suh is now the 21st player in Nebraska history to earn induction into the College Football Hall of Fame and the 4th to do so as a Husker defensive lineman. Nebraska now has 28 total members of the College Football Hall of Fame, including 7 coaches and 21 players. Husker Bowling gets back in action for their first tournament of 2026 as they prepare for the Northeast Classic beginning this Friday. Nebraska finished the fall with a 36-16 record and were ranked as high as 2nd nationally in 2025. The now 4th-ranked Huskers look to continue their success into 2026 with a tournament win to start the year. The Sports Ticker was brought to you by Stonebridge Well Systems, navigating you to and through the retirement of your dreams. Local advisors, a disciplined process, the retirement compass. Visit StonebridgeIWM.com. Coming up next is Hour 1 of Sports Nightly, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Dribbles left-handed dribble. Climbing up underneath him is Wilkerson. He drives to the right side, rubs a man off, over to Mass, puts up the 3. Got it! Holy cow! Mass puts it up and in, and Nebraska's up by 9. Rico, free throw up, and it's no good, and the rebound to Sanford, and the Huskers are going to win this one. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Sanford's not going to be fouled, and it is over. It is over. Nebraska on the road goes 16-0. 5-0 in the conference, knocking off Indiana 83-77. Basketball School 83. Football School 77. Renamed the movie. It ain't the Hoosiers, it's the Huskers.
Rebound, Caffey comes up the floor with 4, with 3, with 2, drives, kicks underneath, so Guman puts it up, blocked! Emphatically blocked by Petrie to end the game, and that is a Nebraska winner. Jessica Petrie with a big-time block to end this game.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Kyle Crooks, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome in. We've got a full 2 hours headed your way here on Sports Nightly. Got a lot to get to. Big basketball game to talk about, obviously. Ndamukong Suh, congratulations, a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. So deserving. I don't know if there's a football player more deserving than Suh to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about that a little bit in hour number 2. And we are starting our bi-monthly, I guess, couple check-ins a month with the University of Nebraska System President, Dr. Jeff Golds. We'll have that conversation here coming up in hour number 2 as well. We'll hear from Jamarques Lawrence here coming up in just a few minutes. Got some football news we want to dive into. But, hey, you went into last night saying with Nebraska being a double-digit favorite that you would learn a lot. Well, how impressed were you with that performance, I guess?
Impressed. A pretty good start from Oregon, too, right? It was a tie game, and then Nebraska, I think, was a 12-point lead heading into half. Nebraska went on a run before half, and then they come out of the locker room, have a quick 5-0 spurt, and force Oregon to use an early timeout. That's what I said. When you're expected to win by a lot, can Nebraska do that? When you're favored by a lot, can you find a way to essentially prove people right? And that's exactly what they did. They did exactly what they had to do against an Oregon team that was a little bit banged up. They were missing one of their starting guards, so that hurt them a little bit. But I don't think anything would have saved, or anybody would have saved Oregon last night from what happened. The performances from Price Sanford continues to do what we've seen all year, just that quick release. He's just really hard to guard. You don't need a lot of time and space to get that shot off. And he was on fire. Braden Frager continues to do what he does. Young guy, local kid, and just continues to find a way to make plays on both ends of the floor with the energy that he plays with. You look at Sanford and Frager combined, they had 14. They were 14 of 22 from 3 between those two. And then it was one of those nights for Rink Mass where he didn't necessarily get things going, but he obviously draws a lot of attention when it comes down to things. And Sam Hoiberg, all of the little things that Sam Hoiberg does to win basketball games on display once again. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Jamarques Lawrence pushing Fred said this in his postgame last night. The one thing that Nebraska had done that he wanted to see more of was push the ball in transition. Continue to have a high pace, because that's when good things happen, and that's when Sanford and Frager can hit some outside shots. That's when you get open shots, when you have the defense broken a little bit, when you move that pace. So Jamarques was big, and they did exactly what we wanted them to do, win by double figures.
What did you guys think? 402-413-2400. Just told Brady he's going to open up the phone lines. So the phone lines are open, text line as well, as we always like hearing your thoughts on all these things. So I've said this so many times when people have asked me about this basketball team, just because it's somebody different. I mean, look at Indiana. It was Jamarques Lawrence, who we're going to hear from here coming up in just a bit. But there's been different times where it's been different guys have been the hero. But it is so fun to watch when they see who has the hot hand, the how quickly they also recognize it, and then the things that they do to try to get that player the ball, and even passing up the shot for themselves to make sure that Price gets more looks at it. And I thought you saw it. There was a big time urgency as soon as they saw, Price is doing Price things, because they've been talking about once he got here and they were going through the practices that they get to have in the summer, that he just didn't miss. He just didn't miss. And so when he starts getting on a heater, it's like, let's keep feeding him. And you could see that very quickly once he got hot, especially late in that second half, just the sense of urgency that they had to continue to feed him the rock.
Comes down to selflessness and mature teams, older teams that understand the ebbs and flows of games, that it's not about me getting mine, it's about us winning a game. And that's where players like Jamarques Lawrence, players like Rink Mass, you could look at a box score and see 5 points, 4 assists for Jamarques Lawrence, and you can look at Rink Mass, 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. They just make winning plays on both ends of the floor. They defend at a high level. This is a team that is playing as a collective at a high level. To your point, while last night it might be Price Sanford for 28 points, a few days prior to that, it was Jamarques Lawrence for a career high, I think 27 points. And then it's probably next one, I could probably tell you Rink Mass is going for at
30.
least 20, at least 20 or 25 points. And then it could be Sam Hoiberg, who continues to play his role, but does he hit a couple extra shots? And I'll tell you this, Cale Jacobson last night was probably the one that, outside of the two obvious, Frager and Sanford, I think Cale Jacobson played some of the best minutes that he's played all year. 20 minutes, he was 4 of 6 from the floor, hit the outside shot. He had a couple of tie-ups, just plays with the intensity to him that we saw, especially in the Indiana game, but we saw that last night. Defends at a high level. He is another one of those guys that knows exactly what the role is and plays it to a winning level.
Yeah, and it also helps, too, when you've got a coach, and I've talked to so many players about this throughout the course since I've been here playing for Coach Hoiberg. We heard him say last night in his press conference, telling Braden Frager, hey, shoot the dang ball. And, so he instills that kind of confidence in the guys that even when they're trying to work through it, and he's been a guy, he's had a shooting slump, that he knows what to do to identify, working through it and what needs to be said, what are things that they can do. But I by no means was an elite basketball player that was going to play on this level, but I was a shooter that I mean, like that kind of confidence, I can only imagine what that does for these guys, just having somebody that, hey, no, keep shooting. We want you to shoot the ball.
And I think why this team is so good outside of the offense and what they can do on that end, defense never slumps, right? When you play with energy and effort on that side of the floor, and I've asked a lot of guys, Fred specifically, I've asked a few others on our coaches' shows that we do about the importance of a Nate Lenzer, and you see him on the bench and how he's essentially the de facto defensive coordinator for this team. But the intensity they play with on that side of the floor to the point where it's incredibly suffocating, that leads to offense. And I look at fast break points, 10 fast break points last night, 11 steals last night. Some of those numbers defensively turning into points in transition. Just how this team They're active. They get deflections. That's the big word you hear a lot. The number of deflections that Nebraska wants in a game is around 19 or so. They forced 16 turnovers last night. That's a really high number for the men's game. They were plus 10 in the turnover margin, and they were plus 19 in points off turnovers. When you can get 23 points off turnovers on any given night in conference play, especially at home, when you already probably with the crowd and the environment have an 8 to 10 point advantage going into the game, when you could be plus 19 in points off turnovers and plus 10 in the turnover margin, that tells me everything I need to know.
I was tracking this a little bit to start the season, and Sam Hoiberg was one of the top in the country. I think he was like number 2 in assist-to-turnover ratio. But it's like one of my favorite stats to track, and I always pay close attention to it. And I, going into the final, I think 6 minutes, I think they had 4 turnovers and 4 or 5 turnovers, and they ended up with 6, but 20 assists. And this is a team that I think continues to be, and that's been something that they've done very well. They've had a couple games where maybe they've turned it over a little bit too many times, but for the most part, they've been very consistent in those 2 areas because, again, the unselfishness, the way they spread the ball around, they move it doesn't stick, and so that has a tendency to rack up the assists, but then they've also protected the basketball, and all that goes into, again, being very efficient on the offensive end.
They're 4th in the country right now in assist-to-turnover ratio,
so
and then
right
Sam he's 3rd in the country, 1st in the Big Ten in assist-to-turnover ratio.
He's
first in the Big Ten, 3rd in the country.
Yeah. So those have been 2 stats that have been really from the beginning of the season, that they've been very consistent at taking care of the ball and not turning it over. And while even on the nights that, and I think going back to the win over Michigan State, where they got just they got out-rebounded. They got beat pretty badly on the boards, but they took care of the basketball still. They didn't have silly mistakes in that regard, so it allowed for them to make up in some areas that they might get, outstatted in. But the one, I think, again, another one of the big kind of key factors is the fact that they do take such good care of the ball and they share it, even when it might not be going in as efficiently as what we've seen them do.
The next test for this team, these next 3 games, Jess, they are going to be favored. So you're at Northwestern, you're home against Washington, you're at Minnesota. Those are any big Big Ten road game is going to be tough. At Northwestern, that's a 3:00 tip. Minnesota, that's an early tip, so that can be a really tough spot to play there. And then you're sandwiched between that, you have Washington at home. You're going to be favored in all 3 games because then on the back end of that, you have Michigan on January 27th. A few games later, you're going to have Purdue at home. But nothing will surprise me if this team comes out and plays essentially the old phrase is to the back of your baseball card, a team that doesn't turn the ball over, that plays discipline, that makes shots, that defends at a high level. If you do that, you're going to win these next 3 games and put yourself at, who would have ever thought? The answer is nobody at 20-0. Who would ever thought 17-0 at this point? It's a remarkable thing to see some of these graphics that are going out. And, there's, I would say, still a lot of the high-end media is still holding Nebraska's history against them, still thinking that, hey, this can't possibly sustain itself. But the people that are actually watching the games, they realize why this is a sustainable win streak for this team. Not necessarily, they're not going to win every game, but sustainable for this team to be in the conversation, to be a high 2, perhaps a lower 1 seed.
Jeff in Omaha sent this text in on our text line. We should all appreciate what Sam Hoiberg does for Husker basketball. You could argue he is their MVP with all he does for the team. Agrees, definitely the glue guy, there's no doubt. And they all allude to that, too, when you ask his teammates about him. And then he asked, does Rink have any lingering issues or wear and tear concerns with the knee? Does Fred need to monitor his minutes down the stretch? Again, Jeff in Omaha, appreciate that text. So I've asked a couple different guys that question because while you have Ugi out, and I don't know what his status is going to be moving forward, and while you were still getting, even back to November and December, when Jared Garcia was still trying to get back his legs after missing a lot of time with an injury, they were playing, 7 guys. And so, and even Kent Pavelka was telling me that going into the Creighton game, he's a little concerned about the depth. But I think this is such a mature team, and we talk about that a lot in a lot of different areas, and being able to come back from down 16 and not getting caught up in the hoopla and taking it one game at a time. But I also think where that maturity comes into a really big factor is understanding what they need to do to be able to make sure their bodies are right. And Price told me that Rink Mass has the most intense routine that he's ever seen to make sure he's taking care of his body before practice, after practice. They do yoga. I mean, I was there trying to do interviews, and I was holding up the yoga start, which has been a huge part to what they do and has been. So Rink definitely knows. They know what they got to do in terms. They get massages. Price is up here getting a massage before an interview, and so I think that's another plus, is that they recognize that the minutes are going to continue to rack up in some of these close games, and you've got to be really, really disciplined and diligent with making sure that you are ready to go night in and night out. And this is a team that understands that. So yeah, I look, and I think it was a good thing too. We talked about that going into it. They didn't have to play a full 40 minutes last night.
Yeah, when you win by 35 points, you can rest guys a little bit. Now, the issue with Rink last night is he got into some early foul trouble, so that limited his minutes some. He only played 17 last night, but that adds up. If you can have nights where Rink Mast only has to play 17 minutes and you can win by 35 points, while they're going to be few and far between, you would take those, because I think there is that thought process of coming off that injury, that if there's certain times in certain games within a season that you could rest him a little bit and know that you're going to win a game, I think Fred's probably going to do that.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. All right, going to get to a break. Got a couple phone calls coming in. We'll try to get to that here on the other side of this break. Also, some football news we need to get to as well. Keep it here on Sports Nightly. Much more to come.
At Woodhouse, it's more than just buying a car. It's about the experience. Our team is dedicated to making every visit seamless, enjoyable, and personalized to your needs. Explore a wide selection of vehicles, from SUVs and sedans to trucks and luxury models, all backed by expert guidance and exceptional service. Whether it's your first car or your next upgrade, discover why generations of drivers trust Woodhouse for a truly memorable experience. Visit us at woodhouse.com today.
Returns on the farm are under pressure, with market challenges and environmental hurdles putting every seed to the test. But you have an ace in the hole: Streamline Ag. Designed for every phase of growth and development, Streamline Ag gives your seed what it needs to thrive. From enhanced stand establishment and early emergence to essential nutrition and stress management, Streamline Ag gives your seed the power to reach its full potential. Visit us at streamline-ag.com to learn more.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Spotting the perfect fit is kind of your thing. So when it comes to finding a used car, start your search at FordBlueAdvantage.com and find the perfect certified pre-owned vehicle at your local Ford dealer. One that comes with serious perks, like a thorough inspection, a Ford-backed warranty, even a Carfax report. Because you know what they say, the best finds are the ones that feel made for you. Ford Blue Advantage. Used car buying that's built for you. Available at participating dealers only. See your dealer for details and limitations.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraskachiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Returns on the farm are under pressure, with market challenges and environmental hurdles putting every seed to the test. But you have an ace in the hole: Streamline Ag. Designed for every phase of growth and development, Streamline Ag gives your seed what it needs to thrive. From enhanced stand establishment and early emergence to essential nutrition and stress management, Streamline Ag gives your seed the power to reach its full potential. Visit us at streamline-ag.com to learn more.
It's not a job. I don't start my day by logging in or end my shift by punching out. I don't have a corner office, but I do have a seat with a view. I get to see every sunrise and every sunset. And while I may technically be my own boss, I fully accept that I am not in charge. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
And now, introducing the starting lineup of your Nebraska Huskers. Starring Allo Fiber. At number 1, Allo Internet. At number 2, no satellite dish required. DirecTV through Allo. And at number 3, Allo Mobile. Allo Fiber, the official internet, TV, and mobile partner of Husker Nation. Level up your game and go to allofiber.com/Husker Radio.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I apologize. Might have lied to you guys. Our phone lines are having some issues, so we cannot put guys on the air right now. They're working through that, so that was my fault. I didn't realize. But Pete in West Point called in. He's one of our favorite callers, Kyle, and he asked, can Fred Hoiberg win Big Ten Coach of the Year or National Coach of the Year this year?
Yes, 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 and yes. I think he's the leading candidate for both. Big Ten Coach of the Year, I think he's probably a slam dunk for that. Dusty May would be the only one that I would think of and say Big Ten Coach of the Year, head coach of Michigan. Mark Byington at Vanderbilt probably would be in that conversation for National Coach of the Year. But if you want to talk about what's happening here at Nebraska right now, while Vanderbilt has taken a massive leap. Mark Byington, by the way, he was the men's basketball coach at James Madison when Kirk Cignetti was the football coach. Talk about a couple of really good coaches on campus at that time at JMU. I would say 1 and 1A would be Fred Hoiberg and Mark Byington at Vanderbilt for National Coach of the Year.
Thank you for the call, Pete. Hopefully next time you call in, we'll be able to chat with you. Appreciate that. All right, so let's talk some football news because there was Coach Rule actually made an appearance on the Zach Gelb Show. It's a podcast, and I dove into a lot of things. He put on his analyst hat talking the NFL, but was also asked a number of different questions. Dylan Raiola, just where Nebraska is positioned here in this transfer portal window this season, but also was asked specifically about Mike Eckler, the special teams coordinator. And over the last couple of days, there's been some rumors that have been trickling out on social media, on the interwebs.
Interwebs, I like it.
Potentially headed to USC or having conversations with USC. And Coach Rule was specifically asked about that. And at this point, they're not really sure.
Yeah, I think it was pretty telling because when I was reading about it probably last night, a few days prior, it pops up as message board fodder, and you don't know what's real and what's not, but it was coming from, I believe, the On3 reporter for USC that Mike Eckler was in conversations to perhaps be the special teams coordinator. And then I would assume that USC maybe sweetened the pot with his ability to coach a defensive position group, which is what he did at Tennessee. He coached the outside linebackers and did so successfully. And the way that Coach Rule answered the question would lead you to believe that there's probably some truth to it. When coaches are good, and he was a Broyles Award nominee for one of the best assistant coaches in the country, that draws interest from a lot of places. And it goes back to, I think of an earlier conversation when Coach Eckler first came here before I came here, but the reason he wanted to come back, he wanted to be around family, right? I think David City is where he's from, and he loves Nebraska, grew up loving Nebraska, so that's a big reason why he's here. And he came here and he turned around special teams. I mean, it was one of the great turnarounds we've seen for a specific, specific group. So credit to him. But with that, when guys have success, money talks, and there's a lot of attention that gets out there. Nothing is official of him going anywhere. And Coach Rule made this public too. He said halfway through the year, they had a conversation, a sit down, where they offered him a pretty sizable extension with a pretty heavy financial number attached to it for him to be, if not the highest paid, the second highest paid special teams coordinator in the country. So Nebraska made it clear that we want Mike Eckler to be here. And as far as the conversations with USC, who knows? But I can tell you this. We know that probably USC was not just the only team that was interested in poaching Mike Ekeler.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's going to continue to be the case. I did thought it was interesting how he said that they took some of the things that Ekeler installed, and they feel like they'll be able to carry that on. And a couple of guys, and I can tell you, I could speak from experience. I saw it on the sideline. A lot of the guys, while Ekeler was involved, but a lot of the guys that were kind of doing the coaching with the different units were those guys he mentioned that were the ones that were kind of really embedded and coaching up on the sidelines. And so, I think they've definitely got some guys that they feel comfortable in continuing moving forward in what was implemented here with the special teams. I also think he's you could tell how much he just loves coaching, right? And while he loves coaching the special teams, I can understand that he probably misses having his own position.
And he got a taste of it, right, during the bowl game?
Yeah.
So that, again, we don't know. We're just speculating at this point.
Yeah.
We'll get a chance to talk to Coach Rule as well coming up here in the next few days, and we'll have him on Sports Nightly, and we can ask him about it. He'll tell us whatever he wants to tell us about it because, if he's not going to put anything out there public that he doesn't want to be out there. But the assumption would be that, okay, Coach Ekeler came into a place that he loves, did a really, really good job, one of the best assistant coaches in the country. As a fan, you'd sit back and say, well, why would he want to leave us? Well, if you look at the options, okay, he probably wants a bigger hand in the defense. And you have a new defensive coordinator that came in here in Rob Orich, and I'm sure maybe they had some of those conversations because Coach Ekeler had that taste of doing that, working with some of the outside backers, I believe some of the edge guys for the bowl game. And if that's not in the cards for him with this new defensive staff that's been brought in with the new defensive coordinator, then maybe he wants to look elsewhere to have that option to continue to be able to have that passion of working on that side of the ball. So I guess you can't blame him in that regard.
And I think you've instilled now, again, whoever, we are totally kind of speculating here. Nothing is said and done. We're playing if, ands, and buts here. But if it were a case where you were having to move on, I feel like the players have a new appreciation and understanding of the importance of special teams that I've seen since I've been here, and the buy-in that they had last year. And there's a lot of those guys that were pretty big pieces to the special teams contributions that'll be back, that I think will also look to carry it on. Whoever's in charge, I think they realized the kind of impact that they can have. And I think that desire to be good on special teams hopefully has been instilled in these players, and they'll take a lot of pride in continuing that moving forward.
Yeah, there's certainly a lasting impact that a Mike Ekeler has, and we're talking about him like he's all of a sudden in past tense being on the Nebraska staff, right? He's still on until I'm told that Mike Ekeler is no longer the special teams coordinator here with Nebraska. Then I'm just going to go with the thought that he's going to be the guy coming into this year. I'll tell you what, with all the investment in Nebraska football, with the amount of money that's been spent in the transfer portal, with the amount of money that has been spent in retaining talent, that it's probably not a money issue when it comes to Mike Ekeler. They have enough money and enough commitment. They want Mike Ekeler around for as long as they can have Mike Ekeler around. If there's other circumstances where they can't offer a Coach Ekeler a piece of another pie of coaching more on the defensive side of the ball, or whatever the case may be, then that is what it is. But I'd say this, it's not a lack of finances of keeping Mike Ekeler around.
The guys that Coach Rule mentioned specifically were Brett Maher, everybody's familiar with him, but Josh Martin and then Nick Humphrey, and they were so involved. I mean, I saw it. I saw it every single game day. So, hopefully whatever the moves may be, it sounds like Coach Rule's got a lot of confidence with guys that they have on staff to be able to carry and move forward with whatever happens. So also more breaking news coming in since we've been on the air. We've got a new commitment to talk about.
New commit out of Las Vegas, a 2026 quarterback, Tanner Vababel. Now, Tanner, I'm sorry if I say your last name incorrectly for the time being, but I'll get it right once you start lacing up and playing. Senior season, over 2,200 pass yards, 32 pass TDs, 1,100 rush yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. That's from Sean Callahan on 3, Husker Online. reporting that, a few other sites as well. So another quarterback gets added to the list of that room, a 2026 commit out of Las Vegas, Tanner Verbabel. So, and then of course you have Trey Taylor coming in the 27 class. So you have a lot of names in that quarterback room.
Do want to reiterate, there has been no official news regarding Mike Eckler. Again, we were just speculating. Coach Rule went on a podcast today. He was asked that question, and the things that he said, that's kind of what we're echoing and kind of giving our take on it.
Just a little smoke right now. There's no fire.
Right.
He's not going anywhere. Again, we'll have a chance to talk to Coach Rule coming up, I believe, on Friday, to have an opportunity to get his thoughts live on this show about where that sits.
Should also mention, too, another comment was made that how many guys will go with Coach Eckler. Well, again, that portal window closes on Friday. And so, to my understanding, they'll have to wait another year because it's only the head coach position, right, that you can make the moves after the portal window closes. So Friday night, what time does that portal window close?
Probably like 11:59
p.m. I don't know the exact time. But on Friday, when that portal window closes, the guys that have signed – that have locked in to be here, they're here for a year.
Yes.
So, and now, look, maybe eventually, sure, but at this point, if something were to happen, and if any coach leaves right now, and any players wanted to follow, it's you're looking at 48 hours left of being able to enter that portal.
Let's have some fun. Let's not panic. Life's life. I'll tell you this.
I just want to make sure we're being
Coach
clear
Eckler is not going
some
anywhere.
Comments have come in. So
good news yesterday too, Jess. Andrew Marshall has announced that he is coming back for another year. These are players too that we don't think about, right? That go into that NIL pie when you talk about how much rosters cost. From not just the transfers you brought in, but you got to pay an Andrew Marshall to stay here. You got to pay a Ja'Cory Barney and Isaiah Hunter to stay here. So the roster retainment has been outstanding for Nebraska this year. Keona Davis, probably the biggest of those names. That, of course, Dillon, outside of Dillon. And that's a whole other story that we can get into at some point with Dante Moore coming back to Oregon, the situation with Dylan Raiola and transferring to Oregon and where that sits. But really good job of roster retainment, and that's a big one in Andrew Marshall.
Absolutely. One of the other kind of news nuggets from the appearance that Coach Rule made today, he did announce the another additional staff member coming in Miles Taylor, who's also spent some time in the NFL, is familiar with Coach Orich, sounds like. So I think we had this conversation about the offensive line and Jeep Wade and Lonnie Teasley both being able to get their hands on. And here's another guy that you're going to be able to add to help. There's a lot of guys in that defensive backs room.
He played at that other school though, Iowa.
Hey, he's on the right. He's wearing the right color now. But Addison Williams has got a lot of those guys and playing at a high level. But it never hurts to add another guy that can really help on the development, because there are times if you're able to go out to a practice that you've got two different fields going on at once. And so if you have kind of two guys, making sure that they've got eyes on these guys, never hurts.
Yeah, it sounds like another addition to that secondary and getting guys coached up. You're going to have some young guys that come in, including a Danny Odom that's going to fight for a starting spot, and all the help that you can get from experienced guys. And he's coached at South Dakota, played at Iowa, played under defense coordinator Phil Parker, and so he's been at some winning places, and he's a winning coach.
All right, going to get to a break. Coming up next, I pushed it back because we got off on a tangent talking about Nebraska men's hoops, which is always okay. But coming up next, we're going to go back to men's hoops and hear from Jamarques Lawrence following the win last night over Oregon. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
There is no place like Nebraska, and there's no peace of mind like knowing you have a dedicated team of technology experts working for your business around the clock. Hey Lincoln, I'm Ed Knott, president of tech company Applied Connective. It's a privilege to serve our great state for nearly 2 decades now with managed IT, cybersecurity, phone systems, physical security, and audio-video solutions. Our team understands the importance of fitting you with the right technologies to help your business perform at its peak potential all day, every day. Discover more at appliedconnective.com and go Big Red.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Noddle Companies proudly supports the Huskers Radio Network. As a full-service leader in commercial real estate, we create thriving communities. Discover what's new in the Builders District in North Downtown, Noddle Hospitality's latest venture in Aksarben Village, and the contemporary living of row house townhomes on Leavenworth. We're welcoming world-class concepts from men's fashion and great eats to gorgeous homes and green spaces, all professionally managed by Noddle Services. These are the Noddle Companies, building a better Nebraska. For more information, check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
Dear Weekend, Toyota trucks are raring to go. Gearing up for fall, Tundra is all in for hauling. Campers, ATVs, Tundra's got the muscle to move it. Going off the beaten path? Tacoma says, let's do this. With handling that tackles tough trails and the backbone to take you where the pavement can't. Both trucks pack sweet tech, posh cabins, and Toyota's legendary reliability. So whether it's a fishing trip at dawn, tailgate at noon, or a remote sunset at, sunset, these trucks are built to make every weekend epic. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, Baxter Toyota of Lincoln, Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, or Village Point Toyota of Omaha.
Returns on the farm are under pressure, with market challenges and environmental hurdles putting every seed to the test. But you have an ace in the hole, Streamline Ag. Designed for every phase of growth and development, Streamline Ag gives your seed what it needs to thrive, from enhanced stand establishment and early emergence to essential nutrition and stress management. Streamline Ag gives your seed the power to reach its full potential. Visit us at streamline-ag.com to learn more.
Spotting the perfect fit is kind of your thing. So when it comes to finding a used car, start your search at FordBlueAdvantage.com and find the perfect certified pre-owned vehicle at your local Ford dealer. One that comes with serious perks, like a thorough inspection, a Ford-backed warranty, even a Carfax report. Because you know what they say, the best finds are the ones that feel made for you. Ford Blue Advantage. Used car buying that's built for you. Available at participating dealers only. See your dealer for details and limitations.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly with Kyle Crooks. I'm Jessica Coody. We've got a ball game right now between Iowa and number 5 Purdue. What day did I say that? It was February 10th, right? Is that the day that I said?
Huskers Purdue? Yes, February 10th.
So 2-point lead for Iowa here in this one. And I don't know, the guys were saying they hope Purdue loses so we can move up in the rankings.
Is it me? I'm not a fan of the lighting. It's very, the court is very lit.
Very light, yeah.
It's very light. Well, I guess that's part of it. It looks like the crowd sort of darkened out there, but it has that Minnesota barn effect. I do like the effect of having the crowd sort of blackened out and the floor lit up like a stage.
Who are you pulling for in this one, Iowa or Purdue?
I can't root for Iowa though. So
it's kind of a weird feeling on what you want to see Iowa lose, but you also wouldn't mind Purdue losing.
Yeah, because that would help the Huskers, right, in the AP polls, which isn't everything, but the Huskers will get their shot at both these teams here.
Yep, for sure. And
Iowa's up,
two at Iowa.
Iowa's
Iowa.
up 5 right now. A lot of time left though.
All right, so had a chance to chat with Jamarques Lawrence last night following the big win over Oregon. All right, make it 17-0 for Nebraska men's basketball with Jamarques Lawrence protecting the home court. You guys seemed to be on a mission. How important was this one here today for you guys?
Definitely important. This is
very talented Oregon team, just coming in, despite we didn't look at their record. Obviously they're missing a superstar in Shellstad. They're way much better with him. But, we prepared like he was playing tonight. This is it's probably the biggest team and athletic team coming in today. So, our goal is just to really just win the rebound battle. Everything else would take care of itself. I think we did a good job of just hitting, blocking out. And I don't know if we probably won the rebound battle. I didn't check, though, but that was the main key.
I was going to ask you about, the size difference, and that was a big key going into this one. Knowing that you might face some bigger teams going forward, what do you take away from this one that, allows for you to match up against those bigger teams and bigger matchups?
I mean, yeah, because Oregon's definitely physical. We was down there battling tonight. This game we're going to look back on this game and, just feed off it. So, when it comes down to, we match up with a team that's, way bigger than us and more athletic, we already got a game under our belt.
I think it was 20 assists to just 5 or 6 turnovers. How happy does that make you?
It makes me great. I mean, I don't know how many turnovers I had. I always look at, see how many assisted turnovers I had. But like I said, just saying it all year, this team is just unselfish. We did a really good job of just getting into the lane and just kicking it out. Oregon, they tried to keep us out the paint and collapsed. We did a great job of just driving and kicking all game.
You guys do a really good job defensively, but what is it about the takeaways, the turnovers that you guys force that? What is it about the makeup and what you guys do that allow for you guys to take it away so often?
Yeah, no doubt. Just playing with activity, just all the way. Like we talk about, just deflections all year. We just wanted to be scrappy. Pressure their guards up a little bit, and just really protect the paint tonight. I think we did a good job of that.
I love, and I've said this about this team all year long, it's so great to watch how quickly you guys realize who has the hot hand, and then let's keep feeding him. What's it like when a guy like Price Sanford is having the night that he had tonight?
I mean, yeah, because, we recognized it early. I mean, he hit a couple shots, that he usually hits. That past couple games he really wasn't hitting, and once we found that out today, it wasn't even Coach Fred. Just the 5 that was on the floor, we all just huddled up together, and we was just like, what are we running, Jay? And I'm just like, let's just go find Price. He's got the hot hand. Even Freger, when they was in at the same time, we was just like, let's just look for those two, and the rest of us, we just going to keep playing defense and just keep being scrappy.
How contagious can that be when you got a guy that's just cannot miss?
I mean, it's fun to watch. I mean, that makes me want to play, harder on defense, and just it's fun to watch. Similar to just, Casey, my years of playing with Casey, it's just seeing with my own 2 eyes, just actually on the court with them, it's fun to watch.
How excited were you guys to get back here in front of Husker Nation again, the support that they've shown you, and, coming into this one after you have a big road win, how rewarding is it to get to come back home?
It's great. We miss the students a lot, but I think in general, Husker Nation did a great job of just, showing up, especially the Michigan State game. They showed us tremendous support. But now school's back going on. Today was a great environment today. We just gotta prepare and get ready. We got a big one on Saturday against a very, very great Northwestern team.
You guys just take turns on whoever the guy is on any given night. Last time out at Indiana, it was your night. Why was the game against Indiana your night?
That game was just a little funky. I seen early just Price and Rink, really didn't have it going. The game just flowed to me like that. I don't get any plays calls. My job is just to go hoop. The game was just flowing for me, so hopefully I get a couple more games like that.
What were you feeling when you're down 16 and this team needed some guys to step up? What were you kind of telling yourself that needed to happen to be able to turn the thing around?
Well, I experienced being down 16. Sam Hoiberg experienced that. Pretty sure everybody, on this team experienced that in some point of their career. We all know how that feels. So it's just really our mindset. It's just this team. You really just can't describe it. Even when we're going on big runs, we're just all just even kill. We're not getting too high. We just want to reset because we know things will go left ASAP. So just regardless of the score, we just keep fighting. That's it.
Everybody talks about in college basketball to be really good, you got to have veteran guards. With you and Sam, the pace that you play with, what what are you trying to bring to this team to allow for, I guess, everybody else to shine, even at times when you're not as scoring as much, but the way you control the things that when you're handling the ball and what you're doing at the point? Yeah,
tonight I want to play with great pace all the time. I think that's just a big skill of mine, especially with just the great shooters I got around me. Just trying to get to the paint, navigate and just find my shooters. Also, I think I got a little layup in today, so I'm gonna just keep sticking with it, and keep trying to touch that paint. Paint touches was big time today.
All right, so you guys have been so good about just one game at a time. How difficult is that, or is it just something that this team has got the mindset, we're locked in despite everything else going on, just one game at a time? I think it's not difficult because, regardless of the success we had, like I said, it's just one game at a time. We know tomorrow's an off day, but we don't get too many off days, in this league. Unfortunately, we got one tomorrow, but we just know we gotta, after a game, we just gotta turn around and just bounce back and focus on the next team. So I think we're just doing a great job of that. All right, last one. You said it. Next team is Northwestern. What goes into that matchup? Nick Martinelli is just amazing. I think he's leading the country in scoring. It's been great to see his game just elevate. Tough matchup. I know a guard on that team, Jaden Reed, little scrappy guard. He's a great kid. Like I said, despite their record, this team talked about it in the locker room. This team been in a lot of one possession close games, losing by 6 or 7, to the top teams in this conference. So just another game we talk about all the time. We respect all, fear none. That's kind of our motto. Great stuff. Congrats on another win. Thank you, Jessica. Again, Jamarques Lawrence there following the big win over Oregon. But going back to when we talk about this team being so mature and focused and locked in on what's next. I hadn't even asked him about the next game, and he was alluding to we have to be ready because the next opponent's a tough one. We got to win that one. They just are so aware of their approach and what it takes to be able to continue on this run. Yeah, everybody's robotic in a good way. I think Fred has said just about in every press conference in his post-game chat with the team, he says the same thing. Are you satisfied? Are we satisfied? And the answer is always no, because there's more to get. Yes, you're 17-0 right now. You've done some things that you haven't done in a long time, including the best start in program history and the longest winning streak currently in college basketball, which is now at 21, I think, going back to the crown of last year. Nobody is satisfied because they realize in the end that really nothing has been accomplished to what the goal of this team is. They have the confidence that they could be a Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four team. Outside of what other people may think, they have the ultimate confidence in each other. I love the student section started chatting, we want Duke last night. They did. Also, I like that. It was great because I was in there and at the 8-minute timeout, I guess, the place was still full. And it was a blowout and nobody left. Not many people left the under 4, that final media timeout. It wasn't until after that Final Four but it was incredible. All right, got to get to a break. We're back to wrap up hour number 1 next.
Dear Weekend, Toyota trucks are raring to go. Gearing up for fall, Tundra is all in for hauling. Campers, ATVs, Tundra's got the muscle to move it. Going off the beaten path? Tacoma says, let's do this. With handling that tackles tough trails and the backbone to take you where the pavement can't. Both trucks pack sweet tech, posh cabins, and Toyota's legendary reliability. So whether it's a fishing trip at dawn, tailgate at noon, or a remote sunset sunset, these trucks are built to make every weekend epic. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, Baxter Toyota of Lincoln, Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, or Village Point Toyota of Omaha.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Think a bunch of IT gurus would have anything in common with a dominant college volleyball team? Hey Lincoln, I'm Ed Knott, president of Applied Connective, serving Nebraska businesses for nearly 20 years. We're proud to have a few things in common with our beloved Huskers, namely that we're also a group of hardworking and highly skilled individuals that make up one dynamic team. From our IT and cybersecurity all-stars to our phone, physical security, infrastructure, and audio-video pros, we're one team that can expertly manage all your technologies. Discover why it's a game changer to partner with us at appliedconnective.com. And as always, go Big Red.
Returns on the farm are under pressure, with market challenges and environmental hurdles putting every seed to the test. But you have an ace in the hole, Streamline Ag. Designed for every phase of growth and development, Streamline Ag gives your seed what it needs to thrive, from enhanced stand establishment and early emergence to essential nutrition and stress management. Streamline Ag gives your seed the power to reach its full potential. Visit us at streamline-ag.com to learn more.
Enhance your grilling game with a Nebraska-made grill from M Grills. Wood pellet and charcoal grills made to last with Nebraska values. Check them out at mgrills.com, a proud supporter of Husker Athletics. Welcome back. Final few minutes left here of Sports Nightly with Kyle Crooks. I'm Jessica Coody. Carla, again, one of our favorite texters, texted in on the text line. She said, quote, well, bust my buttons. ... Could not be prouder of this Nebraska basketball team. They look comfortable and confident playing with each other like a well-oiled machine. They appear to be a college team that is close and will be, quote, Husker basketball brothers forever and will be celebrated for years to come. Thanks, Carla.
Language, Carla.
Bust my buttons. You should work that into a broadcast sometime.
Get the T-shirts printed for Carla. Carla gets full royalties, though, if I work that into a broadcast.
Bust my buttons. Hey, some breaking news here over the last, since we've come on the air. It seems to happen a lot this week, over the last couple of weeks.
I don't mind it.
But AJ Ferrari, heavyweight wrestler for Nebraska Wrestling, news broke earlier this week that he had been arrested, but all the charges have been dropped by Lancaster County, have been dismissed, I guess is the correct terminology. So he will not be extradited to Texas, and I guess he's right back to work. And we'll see what Coach Manning decides to do. He had gone on a Damon show earlier this week and talked about, look, mistakes were made, and we got to give some grace to some kids. And so we'll see what they do with this going into just a massive matchup here coming up. Well, this weekend and then the next couple weekends are really, really big for Husker Wrestling.
Yeah, and that's obviously big news for this program moving forward. And I know Coach Manning has talked a little bit about the situation with AJ Ferrari, and we sort of know what the situation was when they brought him in here and the conversations that were around that when they brought him here to Nebraska. But it seems like everything's going to be a go moving forward, and he's going to be a big part of this team. So that's good news.
So at Minnesota coming up on Friday this weekend. So and Minnesota's ranked in the top 10. And then how about Iowa coming to town? I told you.
Big deal.
8 o'clock on Friday, January 23rd, when they're back here inside the Devaney Center. And then they have turn around and take on Ohio State on Sunday. And Ohio State is a team that beat Nebraska earlier in the year. But I told you've got to go check out what an atmosphere is like when it's in Devaney with wrestling, Iowa and Nebraska.
Nebraska, Iowa, fans do not like each other. That's what I've learned. That's the one thing I've learned. Those two fan bases, they don't like each other.
And Iowa has bad corn.
That too. Yeah. Yes, that's on T-shirts.
Yes, and Searles, that's his favorite T-shirt. He wears it every year during his, quote, Hate Iowa Week. All right, we got to get to a break. We got a whole another hour coming up of Sports Nightly. Going to talk a little. Ndamukong Suh being named as one of the inductees into the College Football Hall of Fame. Also, Dr. Jeff Gold going to be here to talk all things going on with the University of Nebraska. And, we'll have all that coming up next here on Sports Nightly.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Spotting the perfect fit is kind of your thing. So when it comes to finding a used car, start your search at FordBlueAdvantage.com and find the perfect certified pre-owned vehicle at your local Ford dealer. One that comes with serious perks, like a thorough inspection, a Ford-backed warranty, even a Carfax report. Because you know what they say, the best finds are the ones that feel made for you. Ford Blue Advantage. Used car buying that's built for you. Available at participating dealers only. See your dealer for details and limitations.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraskachiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Since 1975, Woodhouse has proudly served our customers and communities. From one dealership to over 21 dealerships across Nebraska and Iowa, our promise remains the same: a wide selection of vehicles, trusted service, and financing that fits your life. We believe in honest people, fair prices, and relationships built to last. Because it's not just about the road ahead, it's about traveling it together. Start your journey at woodhouse.com.
Good evening. I'm Brady Alderson, and the Sports Ticker is brought to you by the experienced advisors at Stonebridge Wealth Systems. First, we have breaking news from Lancaster County as they have dismissed the case on heavyweight Husker wrestler A.J. Ferrari, who had been arrested earlier this week. And going on right now, Purdue just took a 53-52 lead over Iowa. As well, earlier today, the Sporting News named Rick Mast as a third-team midseason All-American. Mast has been instrumental in the Huskers' 17-0 start to the season, as they are now just one of 4 teams in college basketball without a blemish on their record. Rick Mast and the unbeaten Huskers will put their perfect record on the line on Saturday as they make the trip to Northwestern for a 3 p.m. tip-off. Also, Husker Bowling gets back in action for their first tournament of 2026 as they prepare for the Northeast Classic beginning this Friday. Nebraska finished the fall with a 36-16 record and were ranked as high as 2nd nationally in 2025. The now 4th-ranked Huskers look to continue their success into 2026 with a tournament win to start the year. The Sports Ticker was brought to you by the Stonebridge Wealth Systems, navigating you to and through the retirement of your dreams. Local advisors, a disciplined process, the retirement compass. Visit stonebridgeiwm.com. Coming up next is Hour 2 of Sports Nightly, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Dribbles left-handed dribble. Climbing up underneath him is Wilkerson. He drives to the right side, rubs a man off, over to Mast, puts up the 3. Got it! Holy cow! Mast puts it up and in, and Nebraska's up by 9. Rico, free throw up, and it's no good, and the rebound to Sanford, and the Huskers are going to win this one. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Sanford's not going to be fouled, and it is over. It is over. Nebraska on the road goes 16-0. 5-0 in the conference, knocking off Indiana 83-77. Basketball School 83. Football School 77. Renamed the movie. It ain't the Hoosiers, it's the Huskers.
Rebound, Caffey comes up the floor with 4, with 3, with 2, drives, kicks underneath, so Gooman puts it up, blocked! Emphatically blocked by Petrie to end the game, and that is a Nebraska winner. Jessica Petrie with a big-time block to end this game.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Kyle Crooks, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly with Kyle Crooks. I'm Jessica Coody. We've got a ball game going on here between Iowa and Purdue. 59-58. Purdue up by 1 here with 7 minutes left in the second half. But there's a lot of basketball left to be played. But here are 2 teams that we'll be following closely that the Huskers will have on the schedule moving forward.
Iowa just knocked down a 3. They've reclaimed the lead. So this thing's going back and forth. Who knows? Be a top 5 win on the road for Iowa. Again, I'm very conflicted here on who I should be rooting for.
Well, we talked about it a little bit off the top of the show, but big news coming out for former Husker, one of the best to not just play here at Nebraska, but in all of college football. But Ndamukong Suh has been announced as one of the newest inductees into the College Football Hall of Fame class, 18 players, 4 coaches, and one of the more no-brainer decisions that this committee would have to make in inducting Ndamukong Suh.
They've already updated his bio on the website, 2026 College Football Hall of Fame class. So Keith Madden crew, they're quick to update the resume for Suh, but one of the best, most dominant defensive seasons we've ever seen in college football, especially in 2009. Heisman finalist that year, unanimous first-team All-American. Just one of the best defenders the Big 12 for sure has ever seen. When of course the Huskers were in the Big 12, but just watching, for me, not being around here during that time, but watching his highlights, and I know a lot, of course, about his NFL career, and just seeing how, especially all those years with the Lions and then the multiple stops that he's had in the NFL, he transitioned that to the next level and had just an incredible career at the next level.
I've told this story before, but going back to when Nebraska played Colorado and Colt McCoy was on the call and he was down on the sideline, and I just, went up and chatted with him and was asking him about what it was like being in Nebraska, all that. And then I asked him about that game specifically that Sue rocked his world. And I just asked him what he remembered about that game. And he said, well, not much, just 93 basically being in my face all day long.
6'4", 300 pounds, senior year of college. I mean, he was just an ultimate athlete. And we have one of the weight rooms is right underneath us here in North Stadium, and it's a big picture of Ndamukong and Suh right underneath our offices here that we see just about every single day. So he's somebody that I'm sure he's I assume he gets a chance to come back around here every once in a while. I know he has a relationship with Coach Rule. So, maybe we can get him on the show at some point soon. That'd be a good get.
So it was also kind of the Greg Sharp. That was one of his legendary calls, I think, and it was before I got here. But, he's unfortunately it wasn't a win for Nebraska, but the way he called that game and Sue's performance, I thought it was one of his legendary broadcasting performances.
Yeah, it was just fun to watch him play. I remember watching his college career from afar, and especially that 2009 season. But again, to see what he had done in the pros, and then he sets the standard for defensive line play. That's why when fans talk about defensive line play from this past year and the struggles that were there, it's because the expectation and the bar has been set so high from what Suh had done here, and one of the best college defensive linemen ever. So that's sort of where the Nebraska bar is for defensive linemen.
Well, you talked about if he ever comes back, and he was back last season as he was inducted into the Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame, which meant a lot to him. It was a really big honor for him, and he's got a lot of honors, but it was at the top of the list. So I had a chance to chat with him before he came down the summer before. But I thought it was relevant. We could revisit a little bit of that conversation. It was great chatting with him, but kind of a reflection a little bit on his time here at Nebraska. Wanted to revisit that conversation here tonight. Well, if you think about when you were a high school recruit in Oregon and that decision to come to Nebraska, would you have imagined that it would have been the start to leading into all the things that you've been able to achieve?
Honestly, no. I really looked at being able to come to school, great opportunity, the mix of being a student athlete first and foremost, and then being able to have potentially a good career at playing football. Never imagined going to the NFL and being able to have the accomplished career that I had, winning championships, and having fun being able to play a sport that I learned to love. It wasn't my first sport, but it is definitely my most exciting sport to be able to be a part of.
Why did you learn to love it?
I grew up playing soccer since I was 3. My father played professionally overseas, and so it was something that was ingrained in us as young kids. My older sister, who I followed in her footsteps of wanting to be able to get a college scholarship to be able to go play athletics, and I chose football at the time. Ultimately, really wanted to go for basketball, but being 6'4", you're not at an elite height, to say the least. I had the skills, but not the height. So football was one of those things that I got introduced to at a pretty average age of being in high school, or my first experience was in 8th grade, and then not again until my sophomore year in high school. And really just took a liking to being able to impose my will. And that's kind of always been the exciting part of being able to play football and being on the defense side of the ball. I never wanted to be an offensive lineman. I always wanted to beat up on the offensive lineman.
Oh, that's great. So take me back to when, you decided to come to Nebraska out of high school. There's a coaching change. You stick around with Coach Pelini, and then you end up you basically made the decision, 3 different times to come back to Nebraska, to come to Nebraska and then come back to Nebraska. How important that decision ended up being for you and what went into that decision?
Yeah, Bo Pelini really hit me between the eyes right when I got there, or when he got there and said, hey, you have the ability to be better than some of the guys that I've coached at LSU. I'm drawing a blank on the gentleman's name who ended up being a first-round draft pick after he just won the championship with LSU and then came to Lincoln and Bo. And so I said, hey, if you see something special in myself, I know I'm a hard worker. I'm going to give it all my all, even though I'm homesick and I kind of want to go back to Portland and be around my friends and family. I'm going to be uncomfortable and being in a place that I know has open arms to me, but it's going to be a difficult transition. And I took it as a great challenge. And so being able to do that and then be able to have a strong-minded coach, especially Carl Pelini, who was really our DC majority of the time, and great coaches on the staff, I just said, hey, let's put our heads down and try and create something special, which we were able to do.
What went into that? How did you create that something special, especially those last 2 seasons?
It was a lot of hard work just from a standpoint of sitting in. And I mentioned Carl Pelini because when he came in with his brother Bo, we really sat down and I learned the defense from top to bottom, understood what the safeties were doing, understood what the corners were doing and run fits and pass protection, all these different particular pieces. So I knew where I could cheat within our system and make plays. And Carl would always give me a tough time, and Bo would yell at me all the time. And it's like, you're not doing this the right way. And I was like, well, coach said I could cheat as long as I made a play. So I would go and make a play, and Coach Bo couldn't say anything to me, and Carl would be smirking behind in defensive meetings saying, yeah, I let him do it because he understands the defense, and he took the time throughout the summers to see where all his teammates were fitting and made plays for us. So it was really a way that I took that knowledge and I transplanted that into the NFL, and knowing they had all of that experience and they were preparing me to move on to the next level. That was my wish.
That 2009 season, of course, that was one of the ones that was noted in the article that named you the best player of the 21st century. But, how did that feel week in and week out in 2009, just being able to do everything that you did week in and week out?
Week in and week out was really heads down and taking it week by week. One of my best friends, and he's my best friend and best man at my wedding, and David Harvey, who was a defensive end / tight end in Nebraska with me. He always kept me very, very humbled and being able to see all of the attention that we were getting. But we would have our side conversations and really go every Thursday. We'd go to a wing spot locally, the Watering Hole, and sit down and just talk about the different things that were coming across the table. And he just kept me grounded from that standpoint. And so being able to have that focus of taking week by week was something important that I really relied on him for, because I think people at that stage of their collegiate career could get a really big head and say, I'm the king of the world or the queen of the world or whatever it may be, and not understand there's a process to being successful. And if you stick to that process, it'll maintain and be there for life.
So how did it feel then on Saturdays, on game days, when you are just lighting everybody up? What was that feeling?
The feeling was amazing. I got to celebrate with my teammates, make plays, see them make plays. And that's one thing that people don't really realize. If I didn't have the David Harveys of the world, the Jamarques Crooks of the world, the Barry Turners of the world, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be as successful as I was. Those guys took on double teams. I took on double teams, and they made plays. And so if we didn't work as a collective group together, my success would not be where it's at.
Humble as always. Well, do you have a favorite game that you played in as a Husker?
A favorite game? I would say one that sticks out in my mind is probably the one where Zach Potter tipped the ball and I got to return that touchdown versus Colorado, and then Alex Henry kicked that amazing field goal for us to win. And then second to that, I'd probably say when we're in Missouri, it's always amazing feeling to destroy Missouri. There's just something about that school. Just anytime you can beat them to a pummel and let them know who's in charge, it feels really good.
It was just great chatting with him, and he's just a wonderful interview. But I talked to him at one point in that interview just about how the best linemen, both sides of the ball, offense and defense, are so nice off the field. Some of the best interviews, but then are the most violent, mean, and nasty on the field. By the way, so Jeremiah Searles was a redshirt freshman during that 2009 season. Sometime you should ask him what it was like going against Sue in practice.
Oh.
He got manhandled.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're right. He doesn't sound like he's one of the greatest defensive linemen of all time, just in terms of like the sound of his voice, right? It's a kind of a lighter voice. Some guys have that deep, growly, gravelly voice. I guess he let his actions do the talking,
And I know he's talked about wanting to be more involved. You mentioned it, got a great relationship with Coach Rule and has been back a couple different times. And you want to talk about a guy another alumni that wants to see this thing headed in the right direction. Are we
sure he has no eligibility left?
He would be good to play on this for the needs that are needed going into this season. That's for sure.
Good for him, too. He was able to get a Super Bowl as well in his time. I was just looking through the resume outside of some of the college stuff, but he was Defensive Rookie of the Year as soon as he got in the league in 2010. He's part of the All-Decade team in the 2010s, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, second-team All-Pro, 3-time first-team All-Pro, and a lot of those were some of the first years he was in the league. It's crazy.
Like this quote on the chat, Sue found a way to legally commit violence.
That's what football is. It's legal violence.
Yeah, but he was one of the best.
Yes.
The best at it. All right, got to get to a break. More coming up right after this here on Sports Nightly. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraskachiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
From the chant of Husker Power to Allo Fiber powering your home and Husker Nation, Allo is the teammate you can trust. Whether you're streaming at home with Allo Internet, watching on the go with DirecTV through Allo, or checking stats and scores on Allo Mobile, Allo keeps you in the game. With Allo plus DirecTV plus Allo Mobile, you get the ultimate teamwork. Internet you can count on, TV you can stream anytime, anywhere, and nationwide coverage you can depend on. Bench the other guys and team up with the official Internet, TV, and mobile partner of the Huskers.
At Woodhouse, it's more than just buying a car. It's about the experience. Our team is dedicated to making every visit seamless, enjoyable, and personalized to your needs. Explore a wide selection of vehicles, from SUVs and sedans to trucks and luxury models, all backed by expert guidance and exceptional service. Whether it's your first car or your next upgrade, discover why generations of drivers trust Woodhouse for a truly memorable experience. Visit us at woodhouse.com today.
There is no place like Nebraska, and there's no peace of mind like knowing you have a dedicated team of technology experts working for your business around the clock. Hey Lincoln, I'm Ed Knott, president of tech company Applied Connective. It's a privilege to serve our great state for nearly 2 decades now with managed IT, cybersecurity, phone systems, physical security, and audio-video solutions. Our team understands the importance of fitting you with the right technologies to help your business perform at its peak potential all day, every day. Discover more at appliedconnective.com and go Big Red.
Dear Weekend, Toyota trucks are raring to go. Gearing up for fall, Tundra is all in for hauling. Campers, ATVs, you know Tundra's got the muscle to move it. Going off the beaten path? Tacoma says, let's do this. With handling that tackles tough trails and the backbone to take you where the pavement can't. Both trucks pack sweet tech, posh cabins, and Toyota's legendary reliability. So whether it's a fishing trip at dawn, tailgate at noon, or a remote sunset at, well, sunset, these trucks are built to make every weekend epic. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, Let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, Baxter Toyota of Lincoln, Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, or Village Point Toyota of Omaha.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly with Kyle Crooks. I'm Jessica Coody. I did want to go back to the podcast appearance that Coach Rule made today on the Zach Gelb show, and was talking about the quarterback situation, and he was actually asked about the Minchie situation and the ever-changing kind of dealing with that kind of situation. And he talked about how they brought in quarterbacks, and they were very transparent with them about where the pecking order was and just what they were looking for, and that, hey, there's other guys coming in. And they said that just the way that Anthony Calandria carried himself, he just had that kind of it factor, just the swagger that he came in with. And I heard Coach Rule say that in that interview today, but I was told by a couple of people that were up here during his visit that they definitely saw that and felt that as well.
Yeah, you need that. For somebody who's going to step into that position, I think we talked about that when he committed here and then eventually signed on the dotted line, because we know that's what matters most, considering how that situation went with Kenny Minchie. But you need somebody who's going to be confident, who's going to have to deal with the slings and arrows of being the starting quarterback here at Nebraska, and that's somebody who's going to carry themselves with a lot of swagger, more importantly, with a lot of confidence, things that back up the swagger that he has. He had some issues early in his career, but last year you see what he did at UNLV and his ability to, he throws a really nice ball, but his ability to break defenses down with his legs. He is a true dual threat quarterback when you watch him play, and that's something that, I think will be welcome here with Nebraska, welcome in Dana's system. So certainly excited about that. When we have Coach Rule here in studio, I think here in a couple days, I'll ask him a little bit more about Calandria and ask him, what are those conversations like with TJ Lateef now? Just understanding that he's continuing to develop. You want him to be a part of this program moving forward. You brought in a Danny Kalin, right, who's coming back here to Nebraska. What are those conversations like with a TJ Lateef, who's been here, has been the starting quarterback at Nebraska? The thought was he was going to be in a competition heading into this season, when it looks like now it's going to be Calandria's job going in.
He also talked about just the transfer portal and where Nebraska is positioned, which we've talked about several times. He's talked about and mentioned, but just the being able to be in the conversation and getting guys here. And while some guys might say that there's a better fit somewhere else, they can at least have the conversations where they're competing with some of these other schools. I thought it was neat to, if you missed it, we haven't talked about it on the show yet, but the Huskers football social media team put together a video kind of pulling back the curtain and taking you behind the scenes at the official visit that Owen Chambliss and Dwayne McDougal had here. And I thought that was really, really cool to see, just a different perspective that you don't always see. We can see sometimes visits come in with all the sports, but just the whole from start to finish, some of the things that were done. But one of the things that I kind of took note of after watching that video was here, just kind of even seeing the awe in Coach Orich and Coach Manning, and when they were talking about this place, because they're still obviously getting used to this place, but you could tell that they were still even in awe of when they were showing the guys around and what could be if they chose to play here.
Yeah, I think Coach Orich at some point in that video mentioned the sellout streak. It goes back to 1962, I believe it is, and they had the cars rolled out to the center of the field, and I think at one point they were playing some of my highlights. And
yeah,
I'm like,
I heard your voice on there.
I hope that didn't ruin it. I guess it didn't ruin the visit enough. But no, and you could see how Coach Orich was, lighting up about having his guys here. And I think that's going to be, and I'll probably talk to that with Coach Rule, to the effect of the importance of bringing in some guys that understand his defensive philosophy, that understand the expectations of what Coach Orich wants out of his defenses. And they're going to be two key components at the second and third level of the Black Shirts this year, that you have guys that know what it looks like when it's at its peak under Rob Orich.
I think I told this story back when we were chatting with Roy Manning, but Coach Manning was at Oklahoma when I was there for a couple of seasons, and we didn't talk about it in the interview, but we were just talking off camera about, coming from Oklahoma to here, and when I was at Oklahoma, they got a brand new facility, and it was, at the time, again, state-of-the-art, one of the best in the country. It's nowhere near the size of this one, and it's not even close to what it is. But at the time, at Oklahoma, it was, again, one of the best in college football. But it's an arms race a lot of times with facilities, and Nebraska now has the best in the country, and probably a lot of places not going to put as much emphasis in that now with the rev share portion of it and making sure you have the funds to be able to pay student athletes. But it was funny because Coach Manning had another former player that was coaching on another team that played here. I forgot which team it was, but was on the opposite sideline, and telling him, "You're going to be blown away, man, by the facilities." He goes, "Is it better than Oklahoma?" And the guy said, "Oh, blows away OU." And Coach Manning was like, "Really? I don't know about that." Because Coach Manning hadn't been here either. But then he said, when I got here, I was like, "Oh, yeah, oh, boy." But you could just see even him in awe of what he's selling here, too. And he's a heck of a recruiter, and so he's got a lot to be able to incorporate into his pitch.
Yeah, it's easier to sell when you have the facilities that you do. And we do know this, though. It's a lot more, I think. Not too long ago, before the NIL age, it was so much recruiting was about you got to have the best facilities, right? That was, like you mentioned, the arms race. And recruiting has changed so much now. It's, what can you do for my brand? How much NIL compensation can I make? Can you push my brand forward? Can you make me a better player also, too? But there's a lot more that goes into recruiting now. And I think as Nebraska continues to build, and it's going to be a lot easier once this team starts winning 8, 9, hopefully 10 games, because those big-time recruits that when the money's equal, because we know Nebraska is up there with a lot of these schools when it comes to money, and it doesn't seem like Nebraska's losing out on a lot of these players because of money. It's just more of about a reputation now, and that's what they hopefully the Roy Mannings, the Rob Orches, the Jeep Wades, Lonnie Teasleys are here to now build that reputation as a tough, strong, the Nebraska culture that we love.
Yeah, and I think a lot of emphasis too. There's a lot of things obviously that go into a decision these days, and the pitch. But I think just the taking care of your body, the things that they're doing to help get your body right for the next level. And we heard Coach Roll talk about Thomas Fidone and how Fidone is back here as he's coming back off of an injury, and has said how ready he was to be able to take on the NFL because of what was done here. I think that's a big part of it too, and a lot of it goes in the experience within the NFL with the staff, just the resources that are here to be able for you to tap into that you're going to have to do if you want to be a pro and be a pro for a long time. That's already being instilled here, and a big part of that is what's in that building.
Yeah, it's an NFL process when you look at what this team has, and what's funny is Nebraska probably has some things better than certain NFL teams, right? That's how good the facilities are here, and you have everything at your fingertips, and all of that is there in these visits when it comes to nutrition and the job that Kristen Coggin and her crew do, and then Corey Campbell. You have everything from a strength and conditioning and a sports science standpoint from that, and then it just all comes to, okay, how does this transition to on the field? And that's to getting to that next level of athlete here. And I think with this transfer portal class, it's a good step in the right direction. You're going to have 3 college football playoff teams on your schedule next year. So it ain't going to get much easier. That's why the level of competitor and athlete had to get better this offseason.
You mentioned this too earlier in the show, but Dante Moore announcing that he's going to come back to Oregon, and a lot of people wondering if he's going to go to the NFL. Could be a high draft pick, but he's going to come back, and I think that's again what we're seeing. And as the money continues to increase for some of these college players, it's harder and harder to leave.
Not as much of a rush.
Yeah, the dream is to get there, but you don't have to get there right away, and so it makes things interesting. But I got to imagine that's part of the conversation with Dylan, that hey, there's a chance that if Dante Moore comes back, you might have to redshirt and wait your time.
I think he was fully aware of the situation.
Yeah.
I think he knew that there was a good chance that Dante Moore was going to come back. He will be their starter next year. Everybody's shocked that Dante Moore's going back. I'm a little surprised in the fact that I still think he's going to be he would have been the number 2 pick. A lot of NFL GMs were a little sour on him after the performance he had against Indiana. When you're on that big of a stage, against one of the better teams in college football. It was a stinker, let's be honest, what he did in that college football playoff semifinal. So he didn't want to leave college on that lasting note. So for him and for Dylan now, that allows him, probably best case scenario for him, red shirt, unless something happens with Dante Moore with a possible injury or something where Dylan then has to step in and burn a red shirt and become the starter. I think if Dante Moore stays healthy for a full season, I don't think it's the worst thing for Dylan Raiola. It allows him to get fully healthy, another year of development at Oregon, just getting a little bit more familiar with his surroundings. I think it's probably best case scenario for Dylan and his progression and what eventually is him wanting to be an NFL starting quarterback.
I really don't think this will go into effect going into this season, but I know that the college football coaches voted, the FBS head coaches voted unanimously to expand the eligibility for redshirt years from 4 games to 9.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I think we're trending towards the five-year deal, right?
Yeah.
Come in, you get 5 years of eligibility, and that's it. But we just keep tiptoeing around the inevitable here.
Yeah.
9-game redshirt season is certainly something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I don't think there's any way that goes into effect before this season, but it also could play a factor in some of these players' decisions on. Think about all the quarterbacks that want to leave and go play and don't want to wait. But if you have even I know a lot of times you might not play, but if you're blowing out teams, but you've already played your 4, you're done. You're limited to those 4, so it might give you an opportunity to play a little bit more.
We're just so fractured as a sport.
Crazy.
Between the Big Ten and the SEC. Nobody can agree on anything, and that's why we're getting such a fractured landscape where a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense.
All right, going to get to a break here. Coming up next, we're going to have one of our check-ins that are going to be coming up here more periodically here over these next few months throughout the spring semester with the University of Nebraska System President, Dr. Jeff Gold, catching us up on all the latest and all the things happening around the University of Nebraska and beyond. So we're going to have that conversation here coming up next here on Sports Nightly. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
Spotting the perfect fit is kind of your thing. So when it comes to finding a used car, start your search at FordBlueAdvantage.com and find the perfect certified pre-owned vehicle at your local Ford dealer. One that comes with serious perks, like a thorough inspection, a Ford-backed warranty, even a Carfax report. Because you know what they say, the best finds are the ones that feel made for you. Ford Blue Advantage. Used car buying that's built for you. Available at participating dealers only. See your dealer for details and limitations.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. Their technicians don't earn commission. This equals fair treatment to their customers. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company, and now to celebrate the 75th year in business for a limited time, get a New York AC or furnace for $75 per month. Get you and your loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
Call 402-391-2336.
Dear Weekend, Toyota trucks are raring to go. Gearing up for fall, Tundra is all in for hauling. Campers, ATVs, you know Tundra's got the muscle to move it. Going off the beaten path? Tacoma says, let's do this. With handling that tackles tough trails and the backbone to take you where the pavement can't. Both trucks pack sweet tech, posh cabins, and Toyota's legendary reliability. So whether it's a fishing trip at dawn, tailgate at noon, or a remote sunset at, well, sunset, these trucks are built to make every weekend epic. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, Baxter Toyota of Lincoln, Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, or Village Point Toyota of Omaha.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Think a bunch of IT gurus would have anything in common with a dominant college volleyball team? Hey Lincoln, I'm Ed Knott, president of Applied Connective, serving Nebraska businesses for nearly 20 years. We're proud to have a few things in common with our beloved Huskers, namely that we're also a group of hardworking and highly skilled individuals that make up one dynamic team. From our IT and cybersecurity all-stars to our phone, physical security, infrastructure, and audio-video pros, we're one team that can expertly manage all your technologies. Discover why it's a game changer to partner with us at appliedconnective.com. And as always, go Big Red.
Spotting the perfect fit is kind of your thing. So when it comes to finding a used car, start your search at FordBlueAdvantage.com and find the perfect certified pre-owned vehicle at your local Ford dealer. One that comes with serious perks, like a thorough inspection, a Ford-backed warranty, even a Carfax report. Because you know what they say, the best finds are the ones that feel made for you. Ford Blue Advantage. Used car buying that's built for you. Available at participating dealers only. See your dealer for details and limitations.
Welcome back into Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody and excited to welcome in a very special guest here in studio here tonight. We have the University of Nebraska System President, Dr. Jeff Gold, joining us here to catch us up on all the things happening here across the UNL systems. Thanks for being here. Welcome back to the studio.
Always a pleasure to be here. It's so exciting to be in these new facilities.
We love it. We love it. Okay, so basketball season off to a great start, both men's and women's hoops. You're a big fan of both programs. You've been there inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. What has this season meant to you, but also to Husker Nation?
Well, of course, it's remarkable. We're so proud of both teams for all of their success. And as you've said, I've been at many of the home games and just an amazing response by our fans. Even, of course, once storming the court, which, we can debate whether that's good or bad, but I can tell you it's just a marker of the energy of the Husker fan base. And, of course, we wish both teams the very best as we finish the second half of the season.
We're starting to hear coaches and other players coming in saying it's one of the best atmospheres in college basketball. I got to imagine you agree.
I perfectly do agree. I mean, and, kudos to Amy and kudos to Fred, but this is a lot of hard work by every member of the team, a lot of practice, a lot of planning, and it clearly is paying off on the hardwood.
Absolutely. All right, well, there's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks about a potential governance change at Nebraska Medicine. What do Nebraskans need to know about this?
Well, this has been a long-standing relationship between two partners who have successfully owned and governed our hospital partner, Nebraska Medicine. And one of those partners has decided that it's time to separate and go in a different direction. And according to the governance documents, the university has every legal, but more importantly, programmatic and ethical right to become the sole parent here. So, I make the analogy, it's pretty simple. This is like a couple that's been married for almost 20 years with a couple of teenage kiddos who have decided to very amicably go their separate ways. And the way it's worked out is that the custody will go to one parent. And that's where we are right now. It's really good for Nebraska Medicine in the sense of having consolidated governance leadership. Certainly, it's very similar to the models at Ohio State, at Iowa, at Michigan, and many of our Big Ten peers. And most importantly, for the people of Nebraska, I think it's important to know that the alignment of the university across all of our rural and urban communities is extremely high. It's not just about what happens, in a small part of Omaha, Nebraska, but this is really about continuing to provide world-class healthcare, building the future workforce, and cutting-edge research science in the health professions for every one of the counties and jurisdictions of the state.
So why is this partnership between the University of Nebraska and Nebraska Medicine so important for everyone involved, from the university, but also Nebraskans across the state?
Well, for a number of reasons, Jess, but let's start off with the fact that the overwhelming majority of the future healthcare professionals that are educated and trained in Nebraska spend a good deal of time doing their clinical rotations at one of the Nebraska Medicine locations. Multiple hospitals, dozens of clinics, the Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Center, our new cancer facility in Kearney and others. These are all locations where these young women and young men get their clinical experience. You know, you don't become a pediatric heart surgeon by reading a book or watching a video. You really need a clinical experience, hands-on experience to do that. And I'm sort of living proof that you can have a 25-year career on the basis of that training. A lot of the research that we do in cutting-edge cures and diagnostics occurs in the hands of our clinical partners, particularly in Nebraska medicine. And also the vision of providing accessible, high-quality, affordable care is critically important as well, and that needs to be maintained, you know, not just in a certain part of the state, but statewide. You know, interestingly, as I crisscross the state and talk about this subject, and I get asked a lot of different questions of it, the first question everybody asks me is, Jeff, you know, I thought that Nebraska Medicine and UNMC were one and the same entity. And the reality is, for the last 20 years, the integration has been so seamless and so tight, and we've not done anything to separate that. I mean, it's one brand signature, it's one mission statement shared by both. The core values are identical between the two institutions, and therefore, in the eyes of the public, and frankly, I'll bet you in the eyes of the students and faculty and our alumni, they probably still think it's one and the same entity as well, and that's how we want to keep it.
These kinds of opportunities that you're talking about being provided for Nebraskans got to be pretty near and dear to your heart, being from the medical field.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was 25 years old, Jess, I took an oath, affectionately known as the Hippocratic Oath, although I didn't take it in Latin or Greek. I took it in English. But I said that I committed that I would help other people, that I would be humanistic and altruistic, meaning put other people's welfare above mine, that I would always act as a consummate professional, and that above all, do no harm. And as I've thought this through very carefully, given all of the alternatives involved, this is not something that the Board of Regents was looking forward to doing. We didn't ask to have this happen. But as our long-term partner, CRHS, or Clarkson Regional Health Services, has made a strategic decision to go in a different direction, it's up to us to take custody of the kiddos and to be sure that they continue to grow and develop and lead fulfilled and fulfilling lives. It's up to us to be sure that the mission of this great organization is preserved and protected.
Oh, that's great. Well, we've also had some change here in Lincoln, recently welcoming in a new leader here on our UNL campus. What can you tell us about our new UNL chancellor?
Well, Kathy Ankerson is new in many ways, but also very well known to the campus and to the community. She, of course, served as the dean of the College of Architecture and is a very highly respected leader in that field. But she also served for several years as the executive vice chancellor under Chancellor Bennett and before. And, you know, when I served as provost a number of years ago before becoming your assistant president, I worked very closely with Kathy because she was representing the chief academic officer from the Lincoln campus. And I not only found her incredibly knowledgeable and a very strong advocate for academic leadership, but a very good leader, able to communicate extremely well, build coalitions, work with faculty and staff. And I think on an interim basis, Kathy's going to be absolutely great.
Visiting with UNL President Dr. Jeff Gold. Well, Nebraska's legislative session began earlier this month. What are you hoping to accomplish here over these next few months?
Well, first and foremost, express gratitude to the members of the unicameral and to the governor's office for the partnerships that we enjoy, and to be sure that everybody who makes governance decisions for the state of Nebraska understands that being a good partner, providing transparent and up-to-date information, and being available to answer questions as they may come up during this short legislative session is particularly important. However, I think the critical message is, as the state faces a budgetary forecasted shortfall, that the communities that we serve, and of course the members that represent those communities, need to appreciate how important the economic impact of the university is. You know, for every dollar the state appropriates to us, we return at least 10 and maybe more, depending on whether it's in healthcare or in the ag sector or elsewhere. And so we not only educate the future workforce of the state, do hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of cutting-edge research. But we also work in every one of the 93 counties through our extension services. So the production ag sector, whether it's in row crops or beef production or whatever, depends upon us. The economic stability, we are collectively the largest employer in the state of Nebraska with a huge economic impact. And so that's the message that we will continue to share, or put very succinctly, from a, if you were making family investment decisions, if you were to invest $1 in the university today, you'd get $10 back in the economy next year. I don't know how many other investments the state could make to be guaranteed a 10x return.
Wow. Awesome stuff. Okay, well, we talked a lot about this throughout the football season, but we were in a pretty heated battle and a friendly competition all throughout the football season. But the Big Ten and Abbott We Give blood drive, and Nebraska finished second after winning the first year. But the numbers were so impressive, and I know a lot of lives were saved over the course of the months during the fall. What does this impact mean, and what can Nebraskans continue to do to support this cause?
So first and foremost, I want to thank the Nebraskans who rolled up their sleeves and literally donated blood to this. We had over 4 times the number of Nebraskans who participated this year, and we came in just short of winning. Unfortunately, our colleagues in Madison, Wisconsin, donated just a little bit more than we did. But overall, in this football season, we impacted 250,000 lives in the United States. That is absolutely amazing. And, our donor base needs to know that we'll be back. Mm-hmm. And it's really important. I wrote a letter of congratulations to Chancellor Mnuchin in Wisconsin, but I did close the letter by saying, bring it on. We will be back, and I know that we will. I'll tell you, just recently I had the opportunity to do a kickoff press conference with the mayor of Lincoln at the community blood bank. And one of the people who spoke was the parents of a 10-year-old girl who is being treated for leukemia, whose life depended on receiving some of these blood products. And I got to meet the little girl and her family, and the mom spoke so articulately about, as she saw the blood hanging in the hospital room, knowing that without that her child's days would be numbered. She started to think about how generous it is of people to donate blood for people that they will never know, never meet, knowing that they're going to save somebody's life. So she started running blood drives, and she's been doing it every year since her little girl got transfused. And, as a former pediatric heart surgeon, I can tell you that it is impossible to do pediatric heart surgery on neonates without having access to routine quality blood products. So when people roll up their sleeves, whether it's during the football season or whether it's during donation month, which is this January, they need to know, though they may never meet the people whose lives are changed, that they really will save somebody's life.
Fantastic stuff, as always. Appreciate your time. You're going to be stopping by more often here on Sports Nightly over the next few months.
Look forward to it anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the updates, and always enjoyed chatting with you. Again, that is the University of Nebraska System President, Dr. Jeff Gold, here with us on Sports Nightly. Got to step aside for a break. More of the show coming up right after this.
Since 1975, Woodhouse has proudly served our customers and communities. From one dealership to over 21 dealerships across Nebraska and Iowa, our promise remains the same. A wide selection of vehicles, trusted service, and financing that fits your life. We believe in honest people, fair prices, and relationships built to last. Because it's not just about the road ahead, it's about traveling it together. Start your journey at woodhouse.com.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
The work is dirty and sometimes dangerous. It's the kind that can break your body, and if you let it, your spirit. But while there may be better ways to make a living, you won't convince me there's a better way to live. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
At Woodhouse, it's more than just buying a car. It's about the experience. Our team is dedicated to making every visit seamless, enjoyable, and personalized to your needs. Explore a wide selection of vehicles, from SUVs and sedans to trucks and luxury models, all backed by expert guidance and exceptional service. Whether it's your first car or your next upgrade, discover why generations of drivers trust Woodhouse for a truly memorable experience. Visit us at woodhouse.com today.
Husker Nation, the countdown is on for one of the biggest women's basketball events of the year, PAC PBA, coming up on January 24th. This year, we're heating things up with the Big Red Beach Party. Watch your Huskers take on Big Ten opponent Illinois, decked out in your best tropical gear with a specialty tropical drink in hand, all inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. PAC PBA is your tropical getaway right here in Lincoln. Get your tickets today at huskers.com/PACPBA. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Final segment here, final couple minutes left, but it's always a big event. It's been fun. It's continued to grow. And I go back to, it was, I don't know, I think my first year here that we talked about, after my first year, and we talked to Amy Williams about her goals moving forward for the program. And one of her goals was to sell out PBA. And so it kind of became this theme, and it's continued to grow every single year and set attendance records. And so, listen, it's a big matchup too. So Illinois, another top 25 team. We joked about it with Matt Coatney last night on the show about, seems like every game is a top 25 matchup. That's the Big Ten women's basketball, the deepest league in women's college basketball this year. So it's going to be a big matchup coming up on January 24th. Going to be a fun one. You heard it. Lots of things going on as it's going to be a tropical theme. So lots of fun giveaways and events surrounding that. But again, that's coming up on Saturday, January 24th. So next week, a week from this Saturday, inside Pinnacle Bank Arena, big one against Illinois. Always a big recruiting day for this women's basketball team as well. So get your tickets, be there inside PBA for this one. But hey, they got a couple more before that, and coming up tomorrow night, which will kick us off the air, but another top 25 matchup coming up tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at Michigan State, as we heard from Matt Coatney again last night, kind of previewing this matchup. Going to be a tough one. These are two teams that had some battles the last few seasons, but big opportunity on the road for Nebraska women's basketball. 6 o'clock is tip-off, and then we'll have the pregame show with Matt Coatney and Jeff Griesch coming up at 5:30. So we will not be on the air tomorrow night for Sports Nightly, but we will be back for a full 2 hours coming up on Friday night. A little bit of a party show, I guess, because we're planning on having Matt Rule, the head coach, here on the show. As you heard Kyle talking about earlier, we're hoping to get him on the program on Friday night. We're also going to hear from Justin St. Clair as Nebraska Track and Field gets underway this weekend. So no Sports Nightly tomorrow night, but you can tune in to listen to Coatney and Griesch call hopefully another Nebraska women's basketball win in a top 25 matchup. And then Friday night, big one, full 2 hours coming up for you here. Thanks to Brady and Duke and Kyle. I'm Jessica. Have a great night. We'll talk to you on Friday.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Weekend, Toyota trucks are raring to go. Gearing up for fall, Tundra is all in for hauling. Campers, ATVs, you know Tundra's got the muscle to move it. Going off the beaten path? Tacoma says, let's do this. With handling that tackles tough trails and the backbone to take you where the pavement can't. Both trucks pack sweet tech, posh cabins, and Toyota's legendary reliability. So whether it's a fishing trip at dawn, tailgate at noon, or a remote sunset at, well, sunset. These trucks are built to make every weekend epic. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, Baxter Toyota of Lincoln, Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, or Village Point Toyota of Omaha.
It's not a job. I don't start my day by logging in or end my shift by punching out. I don't have a corner office, but I do have a seat with a view. I get to see every sunrise and every sunset. And while I may technically be my own boss, I fully accept that I am not in charge. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
From the chant of Husker power to Allo Fiber powering your home and Husker Nation, Allo is the teammate you can trust. Whether you're streaming at home with Allo Internet, watching on the go with DirecTV through Allo, or checking stats and scores on Allo Mobile, Allo keeps you in the game. Bench the other guys and team up with the official Internet, TV, and mobile partner of the Huskers. Go Gig Red!